If you've been on the internet for the last year or so, you have most definitely come across the term brain rot. Maybe you've come across videos of people criticizing brain rot, or maybe, God forbid, you yourself came across actual brain rot. For those who are somehow oblivious as to what brain rot is extremely low effort, poorly made content made for extremely young kids. The idea is that parents nowadays cannot be bothered to be good parents to their child, and so they just sit them down in front of an iPad and let them watch whatever the they want to watch on YouTube, with no supervision, no restrictions, nothing like that at all. And so a lot of this brain rot could end up being very harmful for the developing minds of a young child. Obviously, there are many different kinds of brain rot on YouTube right now, but the main big four offenders are Skibbity Toilet, Lanky Box, Gigagadi I hate myself for saying that, and The Amazing Digital Circus. Not the show itself, but all of the bullshit that it has generated. It's not just these four though. Brain rot comes in all kinds of shapes and forms. We frequently associate brain rot with the current generation, Generation Alpha, meaning kids that were born in 2013, I believe, onwards. Something though that we don't really acknowledge all that much for whatever reason is that Gen Z, the previous generation before Gen Alpha, those that were born in the early 2000s and grew up in the late 2000s and early 2010s, we had brain rot as well. We had our own form of brain rot. I've seen a few people defend stuff like Skibbity Toilet and whatnot, saying that like when we were kids, we grew up with that sort of thing, like similar stuff to Skibbity Toilet. And on the one hand, that doesn't mean that we should completely ignore the very real effects that brain rot could have on Generation Alpha. But on the other hand, they kind of got a point. We make fun of Gen Alpha for watching those Family Guy Subway Surfer shorts that can easily screw up their attention span. But when we were kids, we would watch all of those dank MLG swag memes, whatever, from 2015 that I'd argue those are just as harmful to your attention span. Seriously, I tried watching a few of those videos and my god, they have aged like milk hard. We make fun of Gen Alpha for watching Skibbity Toilets, but when we were kids, we watched this crap.
Hello Jimmy, hello you. I am going to make a delicious dinner meal.
Jimmy, your mom is dead. Do an order of pizza for dinner.
Okay, Daddy. Just another day in the life of Jimmy Neutron.
And finally, getting into the topic of today's video, we make fun of Gen Alpha for watching Lanky Box, this duo channel where they play games, they play Roblox, whatever they do challenges, but they are the most annoying, loud f***ing YouTubers on the entire platform.
In this video, we make Turning Red a Roblox account. We spend a ton of Robux to transform into Turning Red, and then go into Roblox games and play hilarious pranks on people. Then we give people their dream pets as Turning Red. It gets super crazy along the way. Let's go!
And yet at the same time, we are the same generation that grew up with Fred and Annoying Orange. When you really think about it, Lanky Box is basically just a combination of Fred and Smosh. You take the funny duo aspect of Smosh and you combine it with the annoying, loud, high-pitched, energetic voice of Fred, and boom, you got Lanky Box just like that. And then it makes me think even further. Is the Annoying Orange really all that different or better from Gigagadigadaigadaiyo, whatever the Like, what's the difference between the two? Are they not the same thing? The bottom line I'm trying to make is, yes, Gen Z had brain rot as well. Whether it's better or worse than Gen Alpha brain rot is a completely different story. But we had brain rot. We had our own form of brain rot. We grew up on stuff that could retrospectively be considered brain rot. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back on topic. The Annoying Orange is an animated web series about a talking orange that is, well, annoying. The series started in 2009 and almost immediately became a massive viral hit. Perhaps what's the most shocking thing of all, though, is the fact that it's still going on to this very day. And it does seem to still have a little bit of a fan base remaining. You know, something like Fred ended years ago. I think like 2014 or so was when like Lucas Cruikshank stopped making Fred videos. But no, Annoying Orange still going on to this very day. It's late October at the time of recording this. I hope to have this video out on Halloween Day, and I decided to check the Annoying Orange channel, and I guess they're doing like this f***ing ARG analog horror thing, so you know, that's cool, I guess. But there's just something very weird seeing like the Annoying Orange characters react to the Minecraft movie trailer. Like, that just feels cursed. Oh yeah, and then just because you have a Skibbity Toilet Annoying Orange, because of course, why would that not exist? This isn't some fan-made ironic thing either. This is 100% genuine. We got Skibbity Toilet Annoying Orange before we got GTA 6.
Oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. Skibbity, skibbity, Bro, what are you doing in the toilet? What do you mean? I am the toilet. Skibbity, skibbity, Dude!
The craziest thing about this though is the fact that these newer videos still manage to get a good amount of views. I mean, obviously 100,000 views is a massive far cry from what the channel used to obtain back in its golden age in the early 2010s, but still, that is a lot more for a channel that peaked in the early 2010s. I would have expected these videos would maybe get like a couple thousand views, no more than 10,000 views. Nah, they still get pretty good views, all things considered. So what is my relationship with the Annoying Orange? Did I grow up with the Annoying Orange as a kid during its peak in the early 2010s? Of course I did. Why would I not? I used to watch Fred and Annoying Orange all the time when I was a kid. I am highly embarrassed to admit that. I remember when I was a kid, I watched that video where Fred met the Annoying Orange at a grocery store, and I thought, whoa, this was the craziest thing ever. This is the most epic thing ever.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who is there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
I'm gonna squeeze you to death if you don't tell me who's there!
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Early 2010s YouTube was an absolutely wild time, wasn't it? You know, I can't make fun of Gen Alpha for watching Skibbity Toilet when this was the crap I watched as a kid. The peak of the Annoying Orange's popularity, I want to say, was from 2009 to maybe 2013, 2014, I don't know. By 2015, it was almost certainly irrelevant. And so during that time, near the end of the Annoying Orange's peak era, a show would be made about it on Cartoon Network. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange. This is a cartoon. I guess, maybe, it might be a cartoon, I don't know. It has a lot of live action stuff in it, and yet I'm classifying it as a cartoon despite that for some reason. You have real live action eyes and mouths photoshopped, edited, whatever, onto live action pictures of fruits. There are actual live action, like real people, human characters that appear in the show. It's obviously full of cartoony special effects to help make it a little bit of a cartoon, but I'm really stretching the meaning of cartoon for this video. I mean, to be fair, in the past, I've looked at an extremely obscure variety show that has a few animated segments in it, but most of it is just live action behind the scenes stuff for a crappy short-lived sitcom made by a weirdo obsessed with feet. So you know what, if I count that as a cartoon, then This counts as a cartoon as well, I don't care. The High Fructose Adventures of Annoying Orange ran from 2012 to 2014. One could argue that the cancellation of this show was when the peak era of the Annoying Orange ended. I might have watched this show as a kid on Cartoon Network, I don't know. This feels like something that like, I feel like I would have watched this given the fact that like, yeah, of course I watched Annoying Orange in the early 2010s, of course I would be that kind of kid, and yet I have zero memories of watching this show on Cartoon Network. Maybe like a few like passing moments I would watch it, but that's it. At the same time though, I can very easily envision myself watching this on Cartoon Network at like nighttime basically. I don't know how much sense this is gonna make, but this feels like one of those last program cartoons. This feels like something like the last thing Cartoon Network would show before it changes to Adult Swim, if that makes sense. Imagine it's late at night, which for 9-year-old standards would probably be like, I don't know, 7 p.m. and you're watching The Annoying Orange on Cartoon Network and everything is funny and hilarious because you're 9 years old and you don't know any better. And then the episode ends and this pops up on screen, and so you're left wondering what to do. Do you change the channel or turn off the TV or whatever because you don't want your parents to catch you watching something that you're not supposed to watch? Or are you gonna be a mischievous little bastard and watch this show without your parents knowing? Get that weird satisfaction of watching something that you know you're not supposed to watch, something that's made for grown-ups, and then you get to brag about it to your friends at school the next day. Yeah, I stayed up after 8 p.m. last night and I watched that Cartoon Network show about the 4 guys that drink beer without my parents knowing about it. Get on my level, losers. Get on my level. On a side note, going from The Annoying Orange to King of the Hill would definitely be an interesting change, more so than any other Cartoon Network show from the early 2010s changing to King of the Hill. So the show follows the adventures of Annoying Orange and his friends, one of them being Nerval, the only main human character of the show, who works at the grocery store that the show takes place in. Nerval is played by Toby Turner, aka Tobuscus, another icon of early 2010s era YouTube. And as someone who used to religiously watch this era of YouTube, I gotta be honest, I never watched Tobuscus all that much. Maybe I listened to that Minecraft Diamond Sword song he made, and it's like, yeah, that song's a banger, I'm not gonna deny it, but I never really watched much of his content besides that one song. I've also heard stuff that apparently Toby is not a very good person, so you know, that makes this whole thing age even more like wine than it already has. The whole thing with Nerval is that he's supposed to be loud, spontaneous, chaotic, over the top, basically crazy, lol random, the kind of humor that was very prevalent in early 2010s cartoons. Watching it now though in 2024, I just get a completely different feeling watching it. You guys remember years ago there were all these like stupid cartoon theories that were like, oh, this was all in their head, none of it happened, none of it was real, you know. You guys remember that stupid Rugrats theory where it was like, oh, none of the babies were real, Angelica was the only real one, all the other babies were just figments of her imagination? You know that stupid theory where it's like there's no proof, there's no evidence to support it, it's a bad fan fiction basically disguised as a theory, and like everyone would make a variation of that Rugrats theory for literally every cartoon. Yeah, I have my own take on that theory for this show. What you're watching is a mentally ill grocery store worker frequently having mental breakdowns and hallucinating talking fruit as his only friends. I'm not gonna lie, I really want to see a Joker-style movie about Nerval. I think it would be absolutely amazing. For sure, it would be a hell of a lot better than Joker 2. More than anything else, this show acts as irrefutable proof that no, brain rot is not this new, recent thing that started in 2023. There are literally no differences at all between a 9-year-old watching this in 2013 versus a 9-year-old watching Skibbity Toilet in 2023. They're both exactly the same thing. I bought the entire first season of this show on DVD and I watched every episode on it. All 30 episodes that are on this DVD set, I watched them. 30 11-minute long episodes. Yeah, you might say that's not that long, but trust me, it is very long. These episodes are 11 minutes long, and yet sometimes it feels like they go on for ever. I've never felt such a wide variety of emotions watching a cartoon, watching any TV show before in my life. Sometimes it's funny bad, sometimes it's offensively bad, sometimes it's not even bad at all. I just become numb to the brain rot. I just accept it as it is and I just watch it, not caring about how bad it is. I've never felt this way before with any other cartoon that I've looked at on this series. The humor in this show is exactly as immature as you would expect it to be. I mean, to give it a little bit of credit, to give it a tiny bit of credit, there is surprisingly very little toilet humor in this show. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. You know, in general, it's a really weird thing. When I think of the annoying orange, I think of it as like something that would have a whole lot of toilet humor attached to it, but no. Maybe it's because it's food themed and, you know, having like food combined with toilet humor isn't really all that appealing, but I don't know. Annoying orange feels like the kind of thing that would have a lot of toilet humor, and yet it doesn't. There is surprisingly very little toilet humor in this show. That's not to say that there's no toilet humor at all, because undeniably there is a toilet humor in this show, and it is unsurprisingly cringy and unfunny, but it's kept to a minimum. And what about the rest of the humor that's actually prominently present in the show? Sometimes the lol random loud equals funny style of humor that Nerval has, sometimes it just gets to me and I find it absolutely hilarious. I think about this stupid joke theory I made up and then it becomes even funnier. It's just 30 episodes of the exact same f***ing jokes being made over and over and over and over and over and over again. The complete difference between when I started the first episode versus when I finished the last episode is, it's something that you will never be able to understand. And then sometimes you get the most ridiculous, stupid shit you could possibly think of, and it just adds to the experience. It makes the show better, and it makes the show worse at the same time. There are a surprisingly large amount of cameos in this show, and I mean like a lot of them. There are a few episodes where Shane Dawson, yes, Shane Dawson appears as a guest voice actor for the show, because having Toby Turner wasn't enough to make the show age like milk. Maybe this is from a season 2 episode, because none of the season 1 episodes I watched have them in it, but apparently Smosh appears in one episode, and all this does is make me even more pissed off that Fred's show was on Nickelodeon while Annoying Orange's show was on Cartoon Network, which means we never got to see a proper crossover between the two shows. God damn it, could you imagine that, honestly? Annoying Orange, Smosh, Tobuscus, Fred, and Shane Dawson in the same f***ing show. It's like we got early 2010s YouTube all-stars here. Remember when people said, oh, Infinity War was the most ambitious crossover ever? Yeah, Infinity War wouldn't have anything on this if it actually happened. There's also an entire holiday episode. Not a Christmas special, just a general holiday episode. Unironically, it's probably the best episode of the show, to be honest. That features tons of guest stars, including Alice Cooper, Weird Al Yankovic, and Bret Michaels, among others. Don't know who Bret Michaels is? Well, he's the frontman of Poison, a mediocre late 80s glam metal band. If you felt stupid for not knowing who he was compared to Alice Cooper or Weird Al Yankovic, don't be. I'm not gonna lie, it for some reason makes perfect sense for Weird Al Yankovic to make a cameo in the Annoying Orange Cartoon Network show. I don't know why. It just feels perfect. I'm not gonna lie, the episode is stupid and goofy, but like, it's like a rare instance where it's kind of charming in its stupidity. Like, you can't really hate it, you can't get mad at it. It's probably like the only time the show is ever very charming in its stupidity, but I'm just kind of baffled by like, how the hell were they able to get these people in? Like, how the hell were they able to get Alice Cooper in this show? And that's not even scratching the surface of the cameos that are on this show. You go onto the show's Wikipedia page and there's a huge list of guest stars that have appeared on the show. Now, I'm going to admit that I never saw season 2. I've only watched season 1 and that's enough for me. I can't find season 2 anywhere. The official Annoying Orange YouTube channel only uploaded a few episodes of the show, and they're all from season 1. There were never any DVD releases for season 2. There were only DVD releases for season 1. I even tried sailing the 7 seas, which is what I always do with these cartoons, yet for some reason I wanted to be extra special with this one show, but I sailed the 7 seas. No. There's no season 2. The island that I sail to doesn't have season 2. I'm sure I'm not looking deep enough. I'm sure season 2 is somewhere out there and it's not lost to media, but if it is, then god damn it. To be fair, I think I've watched enough of the show to get an idea of like what it's like, but still, I would love to have genuine 100% confirmation that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson appeared on this show, voicing his iconic character Rocco the Coconut. I know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has garnered a bad reputation over the years for being in seemingly every single movie that's coming out nowadays, but let's not disrespect his most iconic role. Let's not disrespect the peak of his career. There's a chance that this is just some random kid that decided to add all of these random guest stars onto the show. I don't know why anyone would do that. I don't know what anyone would obtain from lying about Dave Grohl appearing on the Annoying Orange Cartoon Network show, but I digress. If lying about that gives you some weird form of satisfaction, then okay, sure, I guess, go ahead. Most of these guest stars are either fake or they appear on season 2, but I can't find season 2 anywhere. Or no, maybe it's not the fact that I haven't found season 2 anywhere, it's the fact that I don't feel like looking for season 2 because I've watched 30 episodes from season 1. I feel like I've gotten enough research for this show done. At no point did I ever think, okay, I'm only gonna watch a few episodes and then I'm gonna quit. No, I decided to watch every single episode of this show, on this DVD set at least. Because if I only watched maybe 10 or so episodes, if I watched like half of the DVD, 15 episodes, I would miss out on emo Annoying Orange appearing. How could I ever possibly ignore that? How could I possibly miss that? Seriously. This show has also made me think a lot about how does life and death work in this universe? Obviously, one of the trademarks of the Annoying Orange is that sometimes these foods, they end up going through like awful stuff. Like, isn't like the first episode about like, it ends with an apple getting cut with a knife or something like that? And yeah, it's meant to be played for laughs and stuff, I get it. I'm not trying to be like sensitive and be like, oh, this is gonna traumatize a kid or whatever. But sometimes I just think about like in this show where it just casually happens and it makes me think like these are food with feelings, and it's like their deaths are just not acknowledged at all. And it might sound like I'm being like a snowflake about this show, but if anything, I think this adds to the funny nature of this show. These are anthropomorphic foods with feelings, and then sometimes they get squished, they get eaten just casually. Sometimes they still remain alive even after being squished or eaten. Like there's an episode, I don't remember which one, where it's like there's an egg that appears and he gets cracked and you could see like the egg yolk, and it's like he's still alive but now he's just the egg yolk. And then other times it seems like a food gets eaten or squished and that's it, they're dead. Again, I'm not saying this as a valid criticism or anything like that, it's just a funny thing. Like, how the does life and death work in the Annoying Orange universe? Sometimes I'm watching this show and I just see how loud and obnoxious it is, and I just remind myself, not only did kids watch this, but presumably they got their parents to watch it with them as well. I can only imagine being like a dad that's forced against his will to watch this show with his son just because his son absolutely loves it. And so on the outside it seems like the dad is enjoying the show, but on the inside he's absolutely dying inside. He is just desperately waiting for the episode to end and for the King of the Hill intro to show up so we can take his son to sleep and he can watch something different instead. And again, that just makes it even funnier. I don't know what to make of the Annoying Orange show, honestly. I mean, what was I possibly expecting? Why would this be good, honestly? I don't know why it would be good, but it's kind of good. I don't know how to compare this to the other cartoons I've looked at on this series. Again, calling this a cartoon is a massive stretch, but I'm still classifying it as one despite that. I have thought very hard, where do I rank this show in comparison? I knew going into this show, this was either going to be very high up on the ranking list or very low on the ranking list. There was no way it was going to be in the middle. As I progressed more and more through the show, it became near damn impossible for me to determine where should this show go. And so here I am now, making this extremely bold decision to put this show at basically second place, because it is the only logical place I could put this show. Has this show broken me truly? I think it might have. This show is funny bad, and it's offensively bad. It's offensively funny bad. It's funny in how offensively bad it is. I acknowledge that it's objectively garbage and terrible and it's aged like milk, and yet sometimes the brain rot gets to me. I just become numb to it. And so it feels like I'm a 9-year-old watching this show on Cartoon Network in 2012 again. And let me tell you something. It's a terrible feeling, but it's also kind of a beautiful feeling at the same time. I expected nothing more from the Annoying Orange Cartoon Network show. It gave me exactly what I expected it to give me, and yet it feels like it gave me more. A lot more. Is this actually a good show? Is this actually one of the best cartoons ever made? One of the best shows ever made in general? I don't know. I cannot determine it. This show just exists as its own thing. It transcends all time and space. You kids make a big deal about Breaking Bad and The Sopranos and whatever, but then something like this it's out of this world. This is from another planet. Who knows how long it'll be before humanity finally understands the high fructose adventures of Annoying Orange. I love this show with all of my heart, and I hate it with all of my heart. It's so good, I love it, and it's terrible. There is someone out there that has this as their favorite Cartoon Network show, and I'm not talking about a Gen Alpha kid either, because you gotta remember, Annoying Orange is still going on, and it is still vaguely popular, so it's kind of safe for me to say that this is Gen Z brain rot that is also morphed into Gen Alpha brain rot. Stuff like Skibbity Toilet Annoying Orange doesn't really help that case out either. But I'm not talking about a Gen Alpha kid. I'm talking about someone that watched this as a kid when it first came out in 2012, and they considered this their favorite Cartoon Network show, and they still do all these years later. Forget Ed, Edd n Eddy, forget Adventure Time, you know, forget all those other crappy cartoons. This is Cartoon Network's magnum opus. This is their best show. It all went downhill for them the moment they canceled this show. We got a Fred TV show on Nickelodeon and an Annoying Orange TV show on Cartoon Network. I am now patiently waiting for the Skibbity Toilet Disney Channel show, so that way we can finally have the Holy Trinity. Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this. Happy Halloween, and I will see you all in the next video. Adios.